I tell you, Doc, being able to apply the science that you guys have learned to hunting scenarios, you go, well, that's what that was all about. Right. But there's one that I've had a hard time wrapping my mind around. That if you went to a roost site and hunted a particular bird 3 or 4 mornings in a row, might not be the same bird every time.
I get people to argue with me about this as much as anything other than spur length being a reliable way to age a bird.
Here at Mossy Oak, one of our core philosophies is about time. We believe time will always be our most valuable asset, and one of our greatest blessings in life is the time we get to spend in nature. Now, it's not just our responsibility, it's our privilege to protect and nourish the wildlife and resources that make it all possible. A selfless commitment to give back more than you receive and leave things better for the future. That's what it means to be a gamekeeper. Join us each week as we focus on the wildlife we all love and explore the practices and the people who are making a difference in our quest to become a better gamekeeper. The Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak is presented by Tractor Supply Company for life out here and LS Tractor. Start blue, stay blue.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
West Point, Mississippi. We're happy to have everybody here. Home of Mossy Oak brand camo, the Gamekeeper Studio. Richie, my headphones aren't working. We got what is going on here?
We can hear you, so maybe
so.
I think they weren't plugged in.
No, I still can't hear anything. But look, I think we've got some Army World War II surplus equipment here at the table, and Richie trying to run it. I'm looking at Dudley. Dudley, are you okay?
I'm
restful.
Great. I'm great.
Yep. Next to Dudley is Lanny, who's got his laptop up, checking Facebook and
I'm always on that social media.
Yep. Toxie is at the other end, and I feel like you look like you're highly caffeinated. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
You've
pretty
got that.
Caffeinated. I could be more caffeinated.
You got that look about you. We've lost Mac because we've lost a couple of microphones, and Richie, who is over here pushing buttons and wires and
chairman of the boards.
Oh, that's not a good one.
Guys, we have Marcus Lashley. Marcus, you look like Paul Bunyan in there with your flannel shirt on and your big thick beard. And
well, it got cold outside. It's 88 degrees today, so I had to wear a little heavier garment.
Can we get your podcast producer to hook up with our podcast producer and work on our audio somehow?
Yeah, I'll send y'all some of our gear.
I assume you're burning and you're probably putting out traps.
I've been focused more of starting up a turkey research project. We've been tagging turkeys for the past 2 weeks, pretty hardcore.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, can you tell us about that? That's a good place to start.
There hasn't been that much work done, at least published work, on Osceolas in a couple of decades. We wanted to basically launch this project and try to get an idea of what vital rates like survival and nesting success and poult rearing success and all those things to get a baseline on the populations in various areas of their range. So far, everything's been going really well. We've successfully caught quite a few birds and really excited about the work. It's something that's needed, particularly on that subspecies. We just haven't worked on it as much as other ones. Another big aspect of that research that I'm really interested in, right now we can't tag hens on all the sites, but we have several areas that are paired where we have a hunted population directly adjacent to an unhunted population. We're really interested in comparing a lot of the things going on in those populations between those two scenarios.
Gosh, where do you find an unpressured piece of property these days?
That's right. It's hard.
Not around here.
Well, I think what they're saying is maybe you should be a little more thoughtful about how you go about the hunting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work going on just trying to figure out what does that relationship look like? Is it something that we should be concerned about? And what do we do about it? Because all of us, all the researchers are hunters, just like everybody else. We all want access to the resource, and we all want it to be sustainable. Check all those boxes. We want to have turkey hunting around for generations. I certainly want to to be out there with my grandkids doing it too. So
Absolutely.
That's right.
The Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak is presented by Mossy Oak Brand Camo, Native Nurseries and Biologic, Mossy Oak's Gamekeeper Kennels, and Gamekeeper Butchery, Mossy Oak Companions, Mossy Oak Fishing, Mossy Oak Properties, LS Tractors, The Furminator, Spartan Cameras, Nosler, Loophole Optics, Moultrie Feeders, Duke Traps, Apex, Gamekeepers Magazine, and Gamekeepers Fieldwear. Also, Biologic BCP Deer Feed, available at Tractor Supply. To learn even more, check out the Gamekeeper Podcast Library and specifically these episodes. Subscribe now and stay up to date and never miss an episode. And hey, by purchasing a Mossy Oak Wild Turkey stamp, you can directly support wildlife research, show your dedication to conservation, and contribute to ongoing projects. Visit mossyoak.com to learn more.
It's so fascinating how dark the bars are on their wings, and some are a little darker than others, and it looks like the tail feathers are a little darker. They're not quite as heavy, and maybe they have a little bit better spurs. Is there any other things about them that are a little different than the other species?
one of those things is the iridescence is a blue. The color of the feathers is striking to me. I just really, really appreciated how beautiful the colors were in the feathers. And the lines on the feathers are so clean. I mean, it looks like they're painted. You know, they're immaculate. Another thing that has been pretty interesting is we've handled quite a few hens, and I think we're running on close to 10% of them have spurs.
Whoa.
That's pretty significant.
That's new.
Like sharp spurs or kind of Jake spur?
No,
bucks?
it looks like a young Jake spur.
Right.
Probably 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch type. At first I thought it was just the one site we were on and maybe there's something weird at that site, but now it's happened on both sites. I don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you. I was kind of surprised at that.
Did any of y'all know that?
No.
No.
Well, I've never heard of 10%. I mean, that's a lot.
I've never held a hen to know.
Good point.
We started characterizing the turkeys by their behavior because the individual variation. I mean, we have some that they just seem to be happy about everything and they just sit around and they don't care what's going on. And then you have some that are like that boss hen, kind of really angry and aggressive the whole time, and then look at radio tag data and nesting data and everything as it relates to their behavior.
So you could almost assign a personality type to each individual.
That's what we started doing, yeah.
That's so fascinating.
But I just thought people would appreciate that because you experience it when you're out there chasing turkeys around. They're all individuals and do their own thing, but now we're collecting some data to show that really clearly.
I wanted to ask, there's a little chatter out there that there might not be really any difference in the Osceolas and the Easterns. And I was just kind of wanting to kind of get your opinion on that.
They definitely share some different morphological characteristics, and that's been demonstrated. And that's a product of the environment. And I think it was published in the early 2000s where they collected genetic samples from turkeys all over the range, and the other subspecies all separated from each other, but the Easterns and Osceolas genetically did not. But they're definitely distinct in terms of the way that the birds look and different characteristics. I mean, we have enough data to show that they do have morphometrical differences.
Yeah, what do you think, Marcus? I mean, is it if you've got 4 longbeards, you should take one? Or I was trying to get all but one before, but we got to kind of stop all that, you know what I mean?
The rule of thumb, and it comes from some literature and modeling from years ago, is about 30%.
30%.
If you're staying under 30%, you're probably in good shape.
Marcus, before we go any further, I need to point out to Lanny.
I know what we're fixing to talk
That's only
about.
harvesting 30%. That's
Right.
not leaving 30%, Lanny.
I understand that.
But if we triple the productivity, then you
Yes,
have
yeah, absolutely.
You got
30% is a lot more birds then.
That's right. To be safe, it's 1 out of 5. You hear that, Bobby, don't you?
No, look, I can. Whatever needs to be done.
Oh, look
That's
at him.
right.
Back. He's crawfishing. He's crawfishing.
I want to make more turkeys rather than take away opportunity. And if we can get at solving issues by increasing productivity, I think that most people would get behind. So,
Absolutely. That brings a
100%.
great thought to mind, because I'm always talking about as a hunting community, we got to adapt our harvest and whatever we do to the population.
the data from multiple places indicate near record hatches last year.
That's incredible.
And, at state level, and Mississippi's one of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to add to that, we've talked to Craig Harper. I know you guys have had him on, and Adam Butler. And then there have been a few studies recently that have come out. One of them was Brad Cohen and Mike Chamberlain, and then one from South Carolina. And all three of them were consistent of the landscape, which was considered high quality nesting and brooding, were still single-digit percentage of the landscape in those studies.
Wow.
And, that to me is a real red flag that
Yes.
we probably have some problems with productivity. Unfortunately, it may reduce opportunity if you don't address the productivity. Just to add to that, the habitat is providing you a buffer to when it's bad.
Yes.
And it is providing you leverage when it's good. It's one thing for everything to be bad at a larger scale and you not to be as bad as everybody else because you have good habitat. When habitat is good and the environment is good, things get great. That's when you have these really huge hatch years. You're hedging, on that when things are bad, but then when things are good, you have opportunity for them to exploit it.
You said the word hedge a couple of times too. When you first said it, I said, that's a great way to use the buzzword for that. It's like create your own turkey hedge fund. Hey, be sure to stay connected with us on both Facebook and Instagram at Mossy Oak Gamekeepers. Be sure to listen to both our podcasts, The Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak and Fistful of Dirt, brought to you by Mossy Oak Properties.
Well, so today we've got, I'm going to say he's probably our most popular guest. I know we absolutely love having him.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Michael Chamberlain, he's
In the house.
somewhere in that. We've also, if people will listen, you will hear Toxie's voice.
You will?
He,
You will. You will.
he's somewhere in the Ethernet.
Yeah.
He won't tell us where. There's something.
He's in an undisclosed location.
Yeah. And
Closing out.
so that Chinese balloon could have been looking for where he is.
Yeah, they wouldn't have found him. I'm just telling you.
I'm in the Mossy Oak White House bunker. I'm looking at a sign that says the porch of no worries.
Imagine the first part of turkey season, you're sitting somewhere in Georgia, some birds have flown down, you've yelped at them, all of a sudden, oh my God, here they come. And they come over the rise and there's 3. One of them is strutting, one of them kind of struts a little bit,
Yeah.
and one of them doesn't strut. They all look identical though, like they're probably out of the same hatch. What bird are you going to focus on?
I would shoot the bird that wasn't strutting and wasn't gobbling. And the reason I would do that is because clearly there's one bird that's strutting and the other birds are not, then he is very likely the dominant bird in that group. He's socially dominant to the other 2 birds. If there's a bird that's clearly an outcast that is not strutting, he's not displaying at all, very likely isn't gobbling either, then that's the bird I'm going to target because, at least in my mind, that ensures that dominant bird survives another day. That's predicated on the notion that if we're at the end of the season, and it very likely wouldn't matter which bird was removed, and I would take the shot that was the cleanest, most ethical shot that would result in the bird dying as quickly as possible. So it really depends on the timing of the hunt.
You know, there's a lot of talk about that early in the season, messing up. You've discussed it here, the pecking order.
There's uncertainty. We don't understand how that works. It may not matter at all. That's a possibility. The science suggests that it does. Therefore, if given the chance, I would err on the side of what we do know. And what we do know is that dominance matters. Dominant toms breed more hens than non-dominant toms. So most poults in a population are coming from dominant toms.
You know, if you always shoot the turkey that's most vocal over generations and generations, could you not change to where you end up evolving more to one that's less vocal or some that aren't at all?
Yeah.
It's not an overnight thing, but over time, have we kind of bred a less gobbling and active turkey? Because I know I go to some other places and wow, they're so much more vocal and a higher percentage of the male toms are more vocal than ours. So anyway, just a thought.
Did he say tom?
What's a tom?
What
is a tom? I was going to ask Doc that.
There's no question that our gobbling data shows this, that basically, you know, on these heavily hunted public lands anyway, gobbling activity just tanks by the second week of the season. And that's not just all the vocal birds are dead. It's that a lot of the birds that are surviving are shutting up. They're changing their behavior. If you do this through generations, multiple generations, it is logical to think that at some point it will have an influence on future generations of birds and how they behave because you've selected for or against certain traits through time.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Gamekeeper's Fieldwear. Discover our premium apparel at select sporting goods retailers or online at gamekeepersfieldwear.com. Subscribe to our Gamekeepers magazine or grab a copy at Bass Pro Shops, Tractor Supply, and Walmart. Hey, to find your favorite place, be sure to talk to the land experts at Mossy Oak Properties. They are the most trusted and proven network for buying or selling rural land in the country, truly serving as America's land specialist.
Could you just walk us through the flock behavior that's happening now?
So right now, you know, we're about to be in the middle of February. The birds you're seeing are in distinct winter flocks. Those winter flocks are sex specific in that you see hens that are together. There's usually some jakes hanging around them. And then you've got flocks of toms that are by themselves that you may see them around the flocks of hens, but they're not really interacting with each other. They may strut and display right now, particularly on warmer days, but those winter flocks are intact. They're moving around looking for food. And then in about a month, you're going to start seeing those winter flocks split up into smaller social groups.
I've always been interested on how weather affects the gobbling patterns, and from looking at your website, I read the article about, you know, the barometric pressure and how the warmer days in the southern turkeys, they might not gobble as much.
The important thing to know in that data set was the positive relationship between gobbling and barometric pressure. In other words, expect to hear more gobbling as barometric pressure is rising. That's only related to the day before. When the barometric pressure is rising as a frontal passage occurs, that's when you should expect gobbling compared to the day before to be dramatically higher.
I tell you, Doc, being able to apply the science that you guys have learned to hunting scenarios, when you think back on experiences that you've had through your life, you go, well, that's what that was all about.
That's right.
But there's one that you've explained to us. If you went to a roost site and hunted a particular bird 3 or 4 mornings in a row, logically might not be the same bird every time. I've had a hard time wrapping my mind around that because I've just always thought it was the same bird. He's just doing something different.
I get people to argue with me about this as much as anything other than spur length being a reliable way to age a bird. But we have a number of examples where Tom's wearing GPS units. Tom A leaves his roost site. He flies down in the morning, moves out of the area, and Tom B comes that afternoon and roosts in the exact same spot where Tom A was the day before. And we see this routinely. You know, there are just certain places that turkeys roost. Why they're there versus some other spot, there are just some spots that are better roosting habitat. They are safer, they project sound better, birds can access hens and they know it. So it makes sense to me that these toms are spending time around each other. They all know where these roost sites are. So if you're moving about your range and you don't hear your buddy, then maybe you go check that roost site out, and if it's vacant, you use it. I think personally some of this afternoon gobbling that you hear sometimes, that some of that is just toms checking up on each other. They're just trying to see who's around. Now thinking back through the years, I should have just had a little more fun and realized that maybe he heard me crunch the leaves. Maybe he realized something was wrong, or maybe it wasn't even the same turkey. Maybe he was just, maybe he buddy that I'd hunted 2 days in a row was, he's giving the backdoor treatment to somebody else on 2 farms down.
I always just blame Lanny. And that always seemed to work out for me.
You seem to do that with lots of things in life.
We enjoy having you when you're here, and we certainly want to help you every chance we get, and we'll be there at the NWTF, able to lock arms with you and help spread the message.
Yeah, exactly. Spread the word.
WildTurkeyLab.com.
There it is.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. It was good joining you, as always. Well, I'll see y'all there.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
All right,
Mike.
You the man.
Got 2 things I need to say right quick. Hey, 1, I love you guys. 2, see you guys.
Lord, I think he kind of cut out on that last one.
I love it.
Okay. All right. Well, looking around, why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Mac.